Hello everyone, my name is Naya. I'm a forensic odontologist and I'm here with Byard answering questions from Twitter. First we have a tweet from Wobble123. What in the world is skeletal DNA? So skeletal DNA is the genetic material that makes you you. So just like there's little Lego blocks that you can put together, each Lego block is a piece of DNA. And as you put it together, it makes a certain structure, or it makes the blocks tip or act a certain way. So that's essentially what your DNA is. It makes you you, and it makes you act the way you do, and things like that. It's just, the only difference is that the DNA is present within your bones rather than in your blood. The next tweet that we have is, what is the purpose for skeletal DNA? And how does it get in your bones anyway? And this is from Bubble Guppy. So skeletal DNA is present in order to repair and develop your bones and again, make you you. So your mom and dad have their own unique characteristics, but the DNA that they combined and passed on to you makes you have your own set of unique bones. So how do your bones become unique? With the DNA building them together and constantly maintaining this as you grow, you begin to have your own unique set of DNA. And you said, how does it get in your bones anyway? It gets in your bones through cells. So as you can see behind me, there's bone marrow present within bones. And within that bone marrow is cells. And within the cells are your DNA. Now in teeth, we also have DNA. It's just in a slightly different way. So as you can see, we have this diagram here. DNA passed down from your mom is found within the dentin, which is like the peachish color area, right between the very middle section and the very outer section. And then there's also DNA found within your blood, which is found in the reddish part of the tooth as well, which has your vein, and that area is called the pulp. So DNA within these parts not only have the information that makes you you, but again, they're used to constantly repair and develop your bones as you get older. All right, Curious Cucumber asks, just as this cold weather is affecting me, what are ways in which the DNA in bones is affected? They're pretty hard to break, so can anything even get in it? There are several ways in which the DNA within bones are affected. Even though it's hard, things such as aging over time, the DNA just tends to naturally degrade, especially after one dies. So when we go to recover the DNA, if they died maybe 2 days ago, we can easily obtain the DNA compared to 1,000 years ago. It may be a bit more difficult. Another thing is the environment. Metals, chemicals, and things like radiation can wear down the outer surface of the bone and get into the places where the DNA is located. And also like diseases, whether it's cavities or other diseases that also, once again, break down that outer shell, it gets into the cells and could potentially also break down the DNA. So there's a couple different ways the DNA is affected. Okay, Blonde Shepherd 63 asks, mummies. Mummies are purposely preserved for the afterlife and whatnot, but teeth. They didn't brush their teeth, so cavities probably took over. So could you obtain the DNA? What information could you even obtain? It's not like they were fingerprinted or in a database, LOL. So, as I said before, dental disease getting into the section of the tooth that contains the DNA, which is that very inner layer, you have to go through a couple of different layers in order to really affect that nuclear DNA. So with cavities, again, they can be very minor and they can just cover a little bit of the enamel, but if it does get serious to the point where it gets to that pulp area, then we may not be able to access that DNA because once again, other factors are able to now easily get to that area. But with DNA, and especially what's called the amylogenin present within teeth, we can discover things like sex and age, and depending on how well preserved it is, maybe even other information regarding the things that they may have eaten or the things that they're just overall habits while they were living. So again, yeah, even though they're not in a database or they've been fingerprinted, we can still find out how old they may have been and their gender or their sex. Kleenex fan asked, how do you package teeth evidence? Like, is there a method of preservation? How long does it even last? Please answer. Typically, we would use paper bags or paper boxes and things like that in order to preserve anything that has things like DNA or even blood, because things like plastic can serve as a catalyst for degradation of the DNA, and that's not what we want, especially if we have other cases to go over. So the best way to package it is through a vial or even a paper bag. So as you can see, we have a paper bag here, which also has information such as the case number, the date it was collected, and other important information which also needs to be placed on the evidence. So how long? Typically airtight containers are best for long term. So honestly, it depends on how long you need to preserve it for. But again, having it in like a cool and dry environment and away from things like sunlight and moisture, which can then further break down the DNA. Bobby with 3Bs asks, since when do my teeth have DNA inside of it? I could have sworn they were just bones in my mouth. Yes, they are bones in your mouth, and your teeth have had DNA inside of it ever since you were forming within your mom. So yes, they are bones in your mouth, but they do, again, help with determining how your teeth are going to act, how they're going to grow, and how they're going to be repaired over time as you just go through life. And finally, our last tweet is from Treat Tweet. They say, this might be a stupid question, but do you have to be dead or alive to get the DNA? What if someone's tooth fell out and it could potentially be connected to a crime? What do they do with it? Do they put it in a system, especially if they're unsure? So nothing is a stupid question. You can either be dead or alive, and forensic odontology isn't just tied to taking out the DNA within a tooth, but it's also determining malpractice and the analysis of bite marks. So if someone was bit and we wanted to look at the teeth pattern that was present on the person's body, we could compare that to dental records that we may have. So you said, what if we're unsure? If we're unsure, there needs to be some reason as to why we're taking this tooth and processing it. We can't just process it just to do it and call it a day. There needs to be a reason. There needs to be more analysis and just discovery done to determine how the tooth got there, whether it is important or not. And we can do this CCTV footage or even just word of mouth. Maybe somebody reported that somebody's gone missing in that area, or maybe even, an act of violence could have occurred, but there needs to be some reasons in order for us to do this. And then from there, once the DNA is processed, if it does end up being processed, it's placed in a system called CODIS once the profile is made. And CODIS stands for the Combined DNA Index System. And since we may not know the identity of this person or the tooth that this came from, we will put it in a section within CODIS called the unknown. So if there is no profile associated with the person, we will put it in that category, as they may potentially be connected to a crime or maybe a victim, but we don't know who exactly it is. So once we get more information from, maybe a known source, we can potentially compare the two and see if there's anything. But then there's also that chance that they may be present within the system already. So what we also can do is go through other profiles within CODIS and compare the unknown tooth DNA profile to what is already within the database. Yeah, again, once the potential crime gains some traction, then we can compare the DNA process to the suspected person or discover the identity if they happen to already be within the system. So that's all I have for you today. Again, my name is Naya Belton. I'm a forensic odontologist, and I will see you guys.